That's you may not be able to hire somebody, but what I would recommend for a new organization that wants to hire somebody is there are other ways to raise money. And one of the things, you may not like this, but board members should be financially supporting the organization that they're on the board of. So you may want to go around and say each board member, you need to put in $100, $500, $1,000, whatever it is. Or if you don't personally have that money, go to your friends or whoever and raise that money so that we can hire a grant writer to do a proposal so we can get some money. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be ending. Oh, oh, right, or write your own proposal if you can't afford to hire a grant writer. I'm going to get to you. Okay, he asked, what if you write the proposal, you pay the grant writer to do it, and then you don't get funding? Do you have to pay the grant writer to do it again? Well, the answer would be yes or no, because what you may want to do is just revise the proposal and resubmit it. Also, it's not, if it's the same project, it's not going to be as much work, so you shouldn't have to pay the same amount of money again. Let me get to these people back here, please. Actually, thank you. There were a couple of things I want to mention. So let me mention those real quick, and then there are two other people over there I would like to try to get to. Okay, the fourth thing was provide background information on the organization. And we talked about a lot of this here, and that basically gather together as much information as you can to give to the grant writer. That'll save him or her time. And also, the things that are specific to your organization, you have to give to the grant writer. There's no other way for her to know, for instance, how many children you serve. You have to tell her. But if she needs to put in the proposal how many children are in poverty in Detroit, that's something that she can look up, on the internet. So you don't have to provide that kind of information, but you do have to be willing to look at your group and find the information about your organization that she's going to need. The last thing I wanted to mention was be prepared to communicate frequently and to review the drafts frequently and quickly. I kind of mentioned that before. If I prepare a draft, it may take me 2 weeks, but I want you to read it and get it back to me in a day or two. You can't, lollygag around for another week because it's just wasting time. Don't hound your writer when it's crunch time. I've had that where people are calling me every hour. How far have you gotten? Where are you at? It's like you can't write when you're being interrupted every 5 minutes. So just leave the person alone and let them write. If you use Microsoft Word, there's a track changes feature. Turn that on so that if you are reviewing it, you can go ahead and type in your changes and send it to the grant writer, and she can tell what you've changed. You also want to be careful not to have, if you give it to 3 people to read, not to end up sending her back 3 different versions of the proposal that she now has to try to put together, because that's another thing that wastes time. Then the final thing is to have one person do the final editing, which should be the grant writer, usually, because different people write in different styles, so you want the one person to go through the whole thing and make sure it's consistent. And the grant writer should have gone through the guidelines so many times that she now knows what's required, what's not. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about that. There were a couple of questions there, yes? That's a good problem to have. She was like, what if you if two funders give you the full amount that you wanted, I think that what you should do is let them know that you received extra funding, so you're going to expand the project. If there's no way for you to expand the project, then maybe ask them if you could use it for something else. But you can't just take the money and pretend that that didn't happen. But I'm telling you, that's not going to happen very frequently, so I wouldn't worry about that. So that should not keep you up at night. Yeah. I'm sorry? How do you find a good, whoops. Okay, what method would you use to find a good grant writer? Okay, if I were looking, one of the first things I would do is go to other nonprofit organizations, people in them that I trust, and ask them if they've used anybody that they were really satisfied with. Cynthia and I were looking online. There are some organizations in Detroit that recommend grant writers. This is something that we've been talking about how we're going to follow up to this workshop, and that's something that we may need to look at. In DC, where I'm from, they have an Office of Partnerships and Grant Development where they have a list of grant writers that they use. But I'm not sure if there's something similar in Detroit. But I would definitely try to get a recommendation from somebody. Yes. That's true. If it's a staff person that's writing the proposal and you're covering their salaries, then that's probably going to be okay. Unless, you know, there's somebody who's supposed to be tutoring children and you have them over here writing proposals instead. You know, that's a problem. But if it's an administrative person like the executive director and that's part of their job, then that's not a problem. Okay, last question. Okay, she asked, would it be unethical for me to prepare proposals for two organizations that are going for the same grant? I think it depends on if there's really a conflict of interest. I've only had that issue occur once, I think, no, twice. And I've done that twice where I prepared proposals for two organizations going for the same grant. But it wasn't like there was only one grant that was going to be awarded. And actually, in both cases, both organizations got grants. But the organizations were the organizations were so different from each other. One was well, I won't say by name, but one was an organization that they were both health proposals. One was an organization that had like a tennis athletic facility, and the other one had a youth garden. So, you know, they were so different from each other that they weren't really competing. Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you, everybody, and good luck.